Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another week of the Fixate and Binge podcast. I am your host, Joe. Thank you very much for being with us. I have got a very exciting podcast episode for you happening right now. I've got two guests. They're joining me from the East Coast and the West Coast. And this isn't an East Coast, West Coast thing. We're just going to have peace. And we need to have peace because while we're recording this podcast, there is supposedly a very peaceful protest of people in America exercising their First Amendment right for the No Kings Protest Day 2.0. So hats off to them. Hats off for being great Americans. Keep it peaceful, guys, and let's just roll on. With that in mind, I do want to take just a quick second to tell you a couple things that I've been watching, which I think are worth your time. Everybody is buzzing about this HBO show called Task, which is fantastic. It's got Mark Ruffalo in it. It is very, very good. It is very, very well acted. They're almost done with the first season of this. But I think what's been kind of under the radar, because all of the attention is around HBO's Task, and all of it is deserved, by the way, is this wonderful show that I don't think you should sleep on. It's on Apple TV. It's called The Last Frontier with Jason Clarke, and it is very, very good. I think that is a show that more people need to be investing and watching in. We are just days away. When this podcast airs, we are days away from Halloween. So stay safe out there. If you've got kids, eat most of their candy so that in 6 months' time, you're not at the dentist paying out of the pocket for them overeating. I want to jump into my topic today and bring my guest on. A few months back, it was a few months back, I got to meet, and if you've listened to this podcast, you know, I had Todd Friedman on this podcast. He is LA based. He is a major film producer for Hemlock Circle Productions. And we discussed the film that he produced. It was Marshmallow, which was fantastic in terms of like horror. It was really, really good. There was another film about to be released at the time we were talking about Marshmallow, and that was Bad Man, starring Seann William Scott, Ethan Suplee, Johnny Simmons, loveable, Rob Riggle, and I actually have the director, co-writer and director, and one of its leading men on this podcast ready to discuss the film. And you can watch this film right now. It's video on demand on Amazon. I started my review of this with this quote: very carefully drop that fucking banjo. And I just thought that line struck such a chord, no pun intended, struck a chord for the rest of that film. I highly enjoyed this. We're going to dig into it, but it really reminded me of this is what happens when you cross Super Troopers with No Country for Old Men. You get Bad Man. So before we jump into this film with our wonderful guests, I want to play for you the trailer, and here it is.
Can I help you?
I'm Sergeant Bobby Gaines with the Tennessee Special Narcotics Task Force.
This is my squad, as you can see.
Your murder investigation is now another Bobby Gaines bust. This is my American Express. Never leave home without it.
Amen. Hell yeah.
Vehicle's Dixie Mafia. They've been taking over the drug trade in small towns.
Our town, our rules. Plenty of room on Main Street for more dead city boys.
I've got a lead.
Now we're talking.
We grab Jasper, question him. Hear that sound?
I think your balls just dropped. I can help you. Witness protection.
Always wanted to do it in Miami.
No.
The Memphis boys are doing a deal to start moving their stuff all over.
This is about distribution.
They tried to haggle and Travis was killed to make a point.
There's still more to this. This is still my investigation. Do it by the book.
We don't have the same book. This dog Donner guy has a large-scale drug operation here. They say that dog is a real animal. Let's go rattle his cage.
Yes! You having trouble breathing?
No, I'm okay.
I got a feeling you ain't a cop. You got a lie.
I have no line.
What kind of state cop is he?
That's you.
This guy, he ain't right.
are no good men.
And I want to bring on the director, Michael Diliberti. He joins us from Venice, California, and Johnny Simmons, who stars in this film from New York, New York. Welcome to the Fixate and Binge podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, I really enjoyed your direction with this. This is, I think, your first feature film. Is that right, Mike? Or do you go by Mike or Michael?
Mike's cool. It's
Okay.
the first film I've directed. I wrote a movie called 30 Minutes or Less.
Okay. Okay. So definitely not your first foray into writing, but definitely in terms of helming the film, your first feature film. It doesn't seem like a debut feature film. It seems like a veteran that knows how to find the humor and balance the action. It does a really, really good job. I would never have guessed if I didn't read up about it and find out. Can you tell me a little bit about the first spark or the first idea that came to you to tell this story?
Sure, absolutely. I was definitely ready to go direct a film. I've been writing since 30 Minutes or Less came out. So it's like over 10 years of writing and writing on set and doing a lot of production rewrites. So being on set a lot. And I started out in the business on set. I was a camera assistant. And then I was actually an on-set assistant for producers. I worked for a producer named Scott Rudin for like 3 years. And then I worked for a guy named John Lesher, who was the president of Paramount for like 2 years. And I was a Paramount executive. So I was writing the whole time. So I was always on set throughout the writing. And then when 30 Minutes or Less got made, I was on set for all that. And then really, I got so many opportunities to write on movies. And a lot of times as a writer, you're doing, it's, behind the scenes stuff for script doctoring and you do that. I had a number of movies that almost went. Just about all of them I tried to put Johnny Simmons in. I met Johnny on the first movie I was trying to direct. The first time anyone was ever like, you can go direct something, he was the guy I met with. And that was honestly over 10 years ago. And whatever I had, and I think part of it took a little while because if you watch Bad Man, it's pretty hard to pin down. It's both an action movie and a comedy. So a lot of those other movies were more expensive. So if they're going to give you $30 million to make a movie and they're not quite sure, is it action, is it comedy? And particularly when, like me, you want to put great actors in it. A lot of times people see a comedy and they just want to put a comedian in it. And what I try to do is write stuff that is in between drama and comedy. And so the tough thing with that is there's like a small handful of people who can even pull that off. And you have those actors like Robert Downey Jr., who it's like he can do comedy and he could do drama. Someone like Chris Pratt who could do comedy and drama. And I think in his age range, Johnny is really the only guy or the best guy who to pull that off. So whatever I was going to do, I knew that I wanted someone who could be hysterical because he's hysterical in the movie, but also could pull off the drama. Because when a movie works like that, we all love it. It's like Boogie Nights is funny and it's dramatic. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is funny and it's dramatic. Nice Guys is funny and dramatic. And so it was all about just finding the right situation. And definitely in writing, you're always thinking like, oh, I know these actors I want to put in. I mean, Johnny will tell you, it's not like he auditioned for the movie. I literally just, as soon as the movie was greenlit, I called him up. And I was just like, do you want to go be in a movie? I mean, that was it. There was no like, it was just like, so really writing the lead part, that was always, and like the spark for it was just, it's 30 Minutes or Less is also based on a true story. It's about a guy who got a bomb strapped to his chest and these guys forced him to rob a bank. It's with Jesse Eisenberg and Aziz Ansari and Danny McBride. Yeah. So it was the nugget was it really happened. And then I just took as a jumping off point. And so this actually did happen. There was a guy who showed up in a small town that was overrun by meth. And he cleaned up the whole town in like 2 months. And it wound up, he was just a security guard with a fake badge. That actually happened. And then
wow,
that idea, I was like, okay, it's hard to make that guy your main character because it's kind of mystifying. You're wanting with a certain kind of a movie. So it was like, let's find someone who can play that guy and then build the narrative around this other guy, really, a guy who's sort of stuck between these two poles, which is, can I be a bad man or can I be a good man? What does it take in this world we live in? Because I do think if you're going to make a comedy, and you want it to be dramatic, you need dramatic underpinnings. Like Risky Business is about, do I have to take risks in life? And it starts as a comedy and then it turns into like a Bertolucci film. So what you were saying when we were first talking, you're like, it's Super Troopers meets No Country. That's the idea. We start off as Super Troopers and then you move to No Country. And Risky Business is a great example of you have an actor who And people forget, like Tom Cruise was in comedies. He was in comedies in the beginning of his career. And so he's comedic in the opening and then he's dramatic. And that's exactly what Johnny does here. He's hysterical in the opening. And then in that ending, and so much of pulling off this was like, I honestly can't think of another actor. So another actor as young as Johnny's age range, that could be that funny and then has, as you see, this blood-soaked ending, and you're gonna believe it, right? Like there's a horrible version of this movie where he pushes the comedian in it, and like the end does not work. So it's his, his talent level. I really think as a writer, your main job is, and people forget this, when they're not on set a lot as writers, like your whole thing is you want to write something that's going to get the actor, because there's nothing you're going to do to make up for the act. Like that's it. The whole purpose is to get the best actor to show up and do it. If you don't do that, so that just speaks to Johnny's importance in the movie.
Wow, that is.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is very spot on. Thank you. That gives me a very good glimpse into your process, Mike. Just learning about how you, and it seems like you always had an eye on balancing humor with the more serious themes in your film, because the risk I think that you seem keenly aware of is if we take it too far into the comedy realm, then it undermines the serious things that we have to deal with later.
You're going to be out of that. And that was even my first movie, Thurman Burlesque. We had, Ben Stiller produced it, and there were a lot of like just straight comedians who wanted to be in it. And, we, the way it worked out was we had written the script and everybody wanted to make it. And they offered us like a very low sum to option it. And me, I had a writing partner at the time. We're just like, we'll just keep it and we won't sign an option and we'll just hold out and retain some element of control over the movie, because we didn't take like the money up front. And we had met Jesse Eisenberg who wanted to be in it. And we were like, let's do that. Like he'll play the reality of it. And as soon as I made that movie, when I was making something next, I had met, I don't know if it was the same casting director or it was a different casting director who'd cast Johnny in 21 Jump Street, a casting named Gene McCarthy. And was just like, just go meet Johnny Simmons and put him in anything. And so I had met him off that, and I was just like, let's go. And again, it was a little bit of definitely a tough road in that some of the stuff I was trying to do at that time, it was exactly like Batman in tone, but cost $30 million, which is tough for your first movie because you're a little bit like, now that I have this, I mean, I've that door's open to do it. But it's a little bit when you're like, if you were to read this script, it's very funny in the opening and it has this blood-soaked ending. I had a movie I was trying to do with Johnny at the time, which was very similar. It's very funny, and the ending was completely blood-soaked. And people were like, we sold the script, someone paid me $1 million for the script. We were going to make the movie, but in every step of making it, the studio who bought it, I was like, if I make this, you're definitely not going to let me do it the way I want to do it. And so luckily enough, I was like, I'll just write it. And obviously, they weren't able to find the proper director for it. But I think one of the things for me was, as a writer, I'm happy to write on everything. I'll write on whatever I love to write. But as a director, I do want to do something with a certain tone and a certain kind of an actor. And that's why, again, made this movie with Johnny, and we're trying to make the next one.
Wow. That answers a lot of the questions that I had. And the questions I had was what drew you to Johnny, and what you've answered all of that. That's fantastic. I always like when you have a great director teaming up with a great actor, whether it's Scorsese and De Niro or Scorsese and DiCaprio. Anytime you have a director and an actor, they share this kind of unified vision and they work so well together. And that seems like this isn't the last time you'll be working with Johnny. Is that right?
Well, absolutely. And we're also the same height as both of those people you mentioned. I'm the same height as Martin Scorsese. He's the same height as Leonardo DiCaprio. But a little
cool. That's a nice feature. Johnny, that's right.
It's always funny when a short director puts a guy in, especially because they say in your first movie, you're making a movie about yourself, puts like a 6'2" Texan in the thing. I'm 5'2" and from Brooklyn.
That's right. It's a projection of who you would like to be. He's your Tyler Durden. Is that right? Is that what you're saying? That's perfect. So Johnny, you've been working as an actor for, did I get this right, over 20 years? Your career has been 20 years,
yeah, 20 years.
Plus.
Yeah, something like that.
That's impressive. That is impressive by any metric, to remain working. I've looked at some of your films, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Scott Pilgrim versus, and Sing Sing, the acclaimed Sing Sing, which I loved.
Yeah,
you have done some amazing film work on your resume. Can I ask what drew you to bad man? What was it about this that you wanted to tackle?
I mean, I think it's what Mike just described, which is just it has everything in it. It's got it's got great comedy, it's got a great heart, and it has a lot of, you know, it's everything that's on the page at the very beginning. I just started reading through it, and I didn't know what to do at first with it, and it felt like a challenge. I really like whenever I can't immediately sort something out, but I felt Evan's heart, and I really like responded to what Mike was saying, which is it's um a good guy trying to figure out how to do the right thing when everything is falling apart around him. And I like the fact that it took place. I was born in Montgomery, Alabama. I grew up in Texas. So it's nice to have an opportunity to use that kind of accent and that swagger and that kind of, Texas draw. I mean, it takes place it's not in Alabama or Texas, but I can draw on that. Hmm. And I have friends who wore cowboy hats, specifically one that my dad works with, and the opportunity to wear a cowboy hat. He's got like a real Texas Southern draw, and I was like, oh, dude, that's the vibe for it. And yeah, I don't know. It just felt fun. It felt like fun. So sometimes it's work, but I always love doing it. This felt like a fun challenge. Like it just was every day was I don't know, once it clicked for me, it's like I was you know, I was very excited. And then I remember the first day, I don't know if you remember this, Mike, but the first day, it's I saw you over at the monitor. I got that first shot off, and then, I did like an accent. I did and you were over there jumping behind the monitor. I was like, okay, sweet. We synced up. That kind of like alignment of vision where you're like, okay, are we seeing the same thing? Is this And then when I saw you over the monitor, I was like, oh, dope. We're on track.
It was exciting to see it because particularly the costume, like I also really believe in what I would call like Halloween costume characters. Like there's certain characters where you can go to Halloweenism and you're that person. Like you can dress up as Magnum PI and people know you're Magnum PI. People know you're Tom Cruise from Risky Business. Really trying to costume Johnny and put him in something where it felt like, oh, that looks iconic. And definitely when he showed up, like he's got this big jacket on, he's got cowboy boots and a hat. So you're like 6 inches taller from that. And you have the gun. It's imposing. And it's like, oh, like we're making a movie. Like this character has the presence. So definitely when he showed up and he was doing it, because it's definitely a big swing. It's not like we just showed up, like it's pretty tonal. We have like a very clear like we didn't shoot on film, but it looks like we shot on film. We had a really great DP who uses this LUT that really gave it that sort of like old school dirty 35 millimeter look to it. So we definitely like took a big swing. It's not like we were like, let's just try to make a movie. It's a very specific type of movie. So when it all kind of came together, definitely on just honestly day one, we're like, oh yeah, this works. You're super, super excited about it.
From when I read it to when we were shooting, it was a few weeks. And so what I like to do is I like to record the script. Like I'll record it and I'll do like 25 pages at a time or whatever. And then I'll play the voice memo back, sometimes at variable speeds or whatever. And I like to listen to it a bunch of times. And I remember I was at a gas station whenever there's just this moment. It takes me a really long time to get my head around a story. Like auditioning for me is not so great because I need more time to sort of sort it out. And I remember I like to drive down to the set. We were shooting in Alabama, so I drove from New York to Alabama. And I remember when it clicked. Like I remember listening to it and be like, oh, that's the direction. I think I called you on the way too and told
Yeah,
you. I
you
was
couldn't
like,
voice it. So you were going for it, and that's
yeah. It's like, is this the accent? Does that sound right? Is it too caricature-y? Is it too like, I want to make it believable and real and then also be able to play that comedy of it. And so, yeah, it's nice whenever it syncs up on the first day.
yeah. He went for, and again, you mentioned a bunch of movies. The movie I had seen Johnny in that was like crazy is The Phenom. This movie's in with Ethan Hawke, where he does a similar because he's playing a baseball player. So it's sort of like this because he's playing like a hot shot in the movie. And that's when I knew he would crush this because he's out acting Ethan Hawke, but he's also playing like a baseball player. So he's playing it with this swagger, but also it's an amazing movie. It's an incredible movie. It's Paul Giamatti as well, isn't it? Right?
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like
Yeah.
heavyweight actors, and every scene is like. What I like about the movie is every scene is turned up to like an 11 in a room with a big actor. There's like no scene down here, so it's intense the whole way through.
Got it.
And definitely like an underseen movie. But when I saw him do that, I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna show up and crush because he can play it all, you know. And my thing was with this, you know, I love actors because I do think people are seeing so few movies these days that every movie has to be a buffet. So you see these superhero movies are doing well, partially because they have everything in them. Like their action movies, their comedies, their dramedies, their dramas, everything gets thrown at you, and people want that. And the actors who are really amazing in them are actors who can do everything. So like the Chris Pratts, the Ryan Reynolds, Robert Downey Jr. Again, he's a guy who was in all kinds of movies for so long, and until people saw him in a movie like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and then Iron Man, where he could do everything, you're like, oh, I actually appreciate what this guy does. I mean, in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, it's one of my favorite movies. I'm obsessed with Shane Black. He does everything, and then he sings the song that's over credits. And you're like, this guy did it all. And really, with Johnny, he's a very similar actor in that he does so much. So I've seen Johnny in straight comedies like 21 Jump Street, and then like the Phenom is again as dramatic. Like there's no comedy; it's very, very serious. And I think when you have an actor that Johnny does so much, like Johnny, you gotta have a showcase for them to do it all. Like, so I was like, with this, just do everything. Like there was a scene where he was singing in front of a crowd. He was a little nervous about that. I was like, if you can do it, so just do it in the movie, and do it in a movie where people could see you do everything in 90 minutes. Like for 90 minutes, you're going to watch this kid do absolutely everything an actor or performer couldn't do, aside from dancing. Like we just don't have a dance scene. That's it. He's done it all.
Bonus features.
Yeah, that's right. If Bollywood finances. If Bollywood finances the next film, there might be some dancing at some point.
We'll go for dancing, honestly.
Do a little Danny Boyle.
Well, movies that have everything. Like think about Pulp Fiction. What's one of your favorite scenes in Pulp Fiction? It's probably the dance scene.
Yeah,
right. That's true.
Thing. And I do love when actors sing in movies, because I do think it gives you a little something extra. And Johnny can sing. And then the next movie he's in, he's playing like a country singer. So he's legitimately, it's like he's playing.
Yeah.
Like, the movie just did.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like your bread and butter, Mike, is to work with somebody who is malleable, but also incredibly talented across the entire range. It sounds like, you know, when you have somebody that you can work with, you could switch them like a Rubik's Cube into any different genre, or I need this, I need you to, you know, it sounds like Johnny has the type of versatility that works best with you. I'm just generally, it's not a question, but it's a general.
Yeah, and as a writer, you get to see that a lot, because I've gotten really lucky as a writer just to write for so many actors. And a lot of times you're just writing for an actor, whether it's development or it's production, they're usually honest with you. You know, they're like, well, I do this well, so change the scene to do that, or I do that well. Or if you have been in situations where it's like, maybe the actor has been hired for a movie, but it's not funny, and so they're hiring you to come up and write quips basically. And by the time you're writing quips, like the movie's not going to be good. It's hard. Like the whole point is you want to write something funny that the actor's going to make better. And a lot of times I think there is the expectation now where actors are thrown into some movies, and they're not necessarily, comedy's not their bread and butter. So it's like, and we even had something, there's a bunch of comedy we cut out of the opening of the movie that was hysterical. That was even like the whole coffee shop sequence, Johnny, where it's like he was playing it so funny, where I was like, if we do that, we almost can't even, like, we're going to start too big. And like, it's almost too fun to go there. So he really delivered on stuff because my thing was throw it all against the wall. You know, I edited the movie too, so I had a good sense of my in and out points with every scene.
Right.
So I always knew, like, hey, let's get an out point to the scene, and then let's just go bigger, go wild tonally, and see what we can do. And it is about modulating that, because again, we have something like there's the big kind of that gear up montage that goes very broad. And it's like if you go a little too broad in the opening, and maybe you can't get there. So you kind of want to modulate it and play it well. And obviously so much of this is hit by, if you look at the way, you know, Johnny shot in the movie, we had a great DP named Garrett O'Brien.
Yeah.
I mean, he just made everyone look amazing and did such a good job and made everyone look really iconic. Even that first shot of Johnny on the hood of the car, that was a shot that Garrett did such a good job on that it's almost out of order in the movie. I just put it up front because I'm like, I'm not going to do better than that. Like the best image in the movie, and it's your first movie, so you're like, just throw it up front. Like he looks amazing. He's sitting on the hood of a car with a cowboy hat. Like it's just go in the front of the movie. We're gonna put it there.
Start off with a bang. Might as well, right?
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
why not? You know, because you start off with this kind of violent sequence, where someone gets thrown out of a car, and it's I think without having an anchor point, and the movie worked that way. But I was like, if we have this amazing anchor point, and we have this amazing actor in it, throw him at the front of the movie, and let the audience wait for it. And I just felt like that was the best shot in the movie. So put it right there.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I mean, personally, I relate to the small town. I grew up in Texas myself, but I also grew up in a very small farming community in Montana as a little kid. Pearland, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston, Texas. The
Nice.
only claim to fame I can make is many, many years after I graduated, Megan the Stallion graduated from my high school.
That's a claim to fame.
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of nice to claim that.
It's
I
cool.
guess it's kind of cool.
I went
But
to grad school in Texas for one day because when I worked for Rudin, I got a producer credit on a movie called Stop Loss that we shot in Austin. And
Okay.
coincidentally, I was really trying to I was a writer the whole time. I went to high school and college for writing, and I had coincidentally gotten into UT Austin, to the Mission Center, their graduate school, and they were like paying me to go, so I was going to go right after the movie wrapped. And I went, and I loved Austin, and that's one of the reasons I was like, oh, I'll just stay here. And I went for one day. And I'm just like, this is not like the move. This is not going to result in me getting any closer to being a writer. Being it for 2 years, like, and just moved out to LA.
You know, 2006, I was moving to LA. Well, 2005, I moved to LA 2 weeks after high school from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, I was class of 2004 with college, and maybe it was like 3 years after, so maybe it was 2007. I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. But yeah, Austin was great back. I haven't been back since, but I lived there on the movie because we shot Stop Loss in Austin as the base. It was so cheap back then, so you used to be able to base headquarters at Austin, and then we would just shoot all around. So we shot in like crazy, like Mustang Ridge, Texas, and we shot all over. But it was cheap, so it was like now it's like a major hub. It's its own thing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely. I wonder if there'll be another part of Texas that will pop up and be what Austin was, because it's almost like it was like a cheap version of LA, and now it's probably more expensive than a lot.
It's like, yeah, I checked it recently. It's more expensive, or at least equal to my apartment here in New York. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's definitely.
You know,
it's yeah.
even Dallas is way up there, and Houston's definitely up there. It's like all of Texas is just gone straight up.
People like it. People like it now.
Well, they're pushing it big time. They're offering tax breaks and stuff. The state would love to bring more films and television into that state. If Matthew McConaughey and Billy Bob Thornton and Dennis Quaid have their way, that's exactly what they're going to do. I mean, it's yeah, they want that money. They want the business.
They did that commercial. Did you see the commercial?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought that was really awesome of him to do. I think what people don't realize is once they get there, you can't go outside for more than a year. The allergies are horrible.
Yeah.
It's
Nah,
brutal.
you get used to it. You get used to it. You just
I'm
find
sorry.
a pool and you enjoy it. You get a lake, a pool, Texas will take care of it.
Well, there's the lake in Austin. I forget what it's called.
Lake
Lake
Travis.
Austin.
Oh, Borden
Well, there's Lake
Springs.
Austin too, right?
Yeah,
in-
there's Lake Austin and Lake Travis. Yeah.
That Borden Springs thing. It's like the hot spring.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went there when I was on that movie. We went like every weekend. The crew would go, and then I read something recently. It's like the #1 source of parasites in the world, and they never leave your body. Probably still
Not
have
true.
Borden Springs.
Can't be true. And even if it is, it's totally worth it.
Well, as miserable as the Central Valley can get, because it'll get triple digits for like a month in a row. At least it doesn't have the humidity of the Gulf Coast, man. I can't do humidity.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
that's
out.
miserable. Yeah, I just really did not like it. Did not like it at all. Sorry, there it is.
We had a great time shooting in Alabama. Was a really great place to shoot. They do offer an attractive rebate. Todd and his partner Warner Davis, who produced the movie, they've made a number of movies there, and they definitely have that area on lockdown. So we were able to get. If you look at the amount of production value we have in this movie, I mean, we have a machine gun fight. We blew up a trailer. The entire movie was made for significantly under $1 million below the line. I think this is probably as much action comedy as anyone's ever done for that number. But you have a big film community. A lot of people from Atlanta will then, because Atlanta has slowed down, they will come to Alabama to work. So it's a really attractive place to make a movie, and it could double for a lot of locations. I mean, they have a good community there. I feel like one of the reasons why it hasn't picked up more is it's 2 flights from LA. So there's no direct flight. You need a connecting flight. So I think that's annoying. But we were super pumped too. And we showed the movie when part of the thing with the movie was we never had a finished version of the movie to submit to festivals in any way. And as soon as we screened it, we got an offer from Vertical right away to buy the movie, and they made an attractive offer. So we took the offer because it was a total equity movie. But we did show it in Austin for the Sidewalk Film Festival. So the movie did. Luckily, it was I think a lot of people make movies at this budget level and they're not that commercial. So we were able to do it to sell it right away. And the way we made the movie, it wasn't. I mean, it was a movie I had set up during the strike. So during the strike, we couldn't set anything up at traditional studios. So I had optioned it to Todd and Warner during the strike because we were allowed to do that as writers. And I'm like, at that point, no one knew when we were going to be able to make movies again. So I was just like, we'll make this movie for whatever price. So we made it with them. And part of the thing was, rather than like bringing on a bigger partner or like a more of a traditional financier to make a bigger movie, I was, more inclined to just see what we can do on our own and make the best movie we can make with just making the creative choices. And I think it was good for both Johnny and I, because this was a movie where we really had very, very limited resources, but it's good when that works. Like, I edited the movie myself, partially because of that. I had editors I brought in to help me along the way. But it's good when kind of the bottom falls out and it's tougher, because it definitely gives you that confidence that like the next movie, like better to find the thing you want to do and figure out how to do it, rather than say like, oh, they're letting me go do this other thing and I have the resources. Better to not have the resources, but have the creative freedom, I think. Especially if your name's all over the movie, right? You're going to write, direct, and edit it. You kind of want to have some control over what it's going to look like, because you're going to be blamed for all of it if it doesn't work.
Yeah, I was about to say that is the risk you run when your name's all over the film. Is you also need to take responsibility when things don't work out, and if you're going to blame anyone else, you'd like at least take the reins, as it were.
Absolutely, and you can look at the action we got and the shootouts and everything. It's not like we had we had a great stunt guy, but it's not like we had a second unit. Like that's just us there in the dirt and the mud and below freezing, making it work. It's like what you see is what you get. Yeah. So I do think as your first movie, a lot of times you can make a first movie and maybe you have this like incredible team behind you, or it's a studio movie, but you don't know how much the director did in that. In this, like, we had to do, between Johnny and I, we kind of had to do everything. It was a really tough movie to go make. A huge cast, and a cast that was a mix between actors and non-actors, and some of the best players in the movie are they hadn't done a ton of stuff. Like Paul Felder's in the movie, who plays Shuggy. He's a UFC fighter. One of the main color commentators now. He'd never been in a movie at all before, and everyone, he's the guy with the red hair and the camera. Yeah, everyone loved.
Just crushed it.
And everyone on set. There's not a lot of Venn diagram overlap between people on a film set a lot of times and people who watch UFC. So like some of the people who knew who he was were like the stunt guys were. The two stunt guys, they work with everyone. They've worked on Marvel movies, but they didn't like want a picture with any of the actors. And then they came up to me university, like, can you get us a picture with Felder? But the people who didn't know him,
he's a legend.
They thought he was just like an extra off of like Ozark, because he's doing an accent and everything. It's amazing. And it's a UFC fighter.
And there's one scene where he's like staring me down and he's about to punch the shit out of me. And I was genuinely like, holy shit.
You don't want that.
Paul's a very pure, because Ethan Suplee was cast as Dog, and then we met a lot of actors to play like his, second in command. And Ethan's like a big boy, then he's intimidating he's just, you know, it's just like, who are you going to put opposite him is going to be intimidating. And then I had seen Felder was on Joe Rogan, and he talked about how he was a trained actor as well. And I was like, oh, he's like, sheesh. And so it was the same thing. Like I didn't audition him or anything. I was just so excited to get to meet Felder. I was like, let's just have him show up and we'll work with whatever we get. Because I'm a huge Paul Felder fan. He's an amazing fighter. And he showed up, and he's an amazing actor as well. It was definitely incredible.
Wow.
You know, same thing with Jet Wilder, who played Destiny, the girl with the banjo. She, I want to say maybe she actually did do a tape where she plays that character. And I thought she was from Alabama because she had like auditioned as a local for like whatever casting reasons. But she was just like lived in North Hollywood, and that wasn't her accent at all. And she's just like, that was, she did, and I was so impressed. And then everyone loves, like you're saying, drop the banjo. Everyone loves her in the movie. That's the character that honestly has gotten, when people see the movie, it tends to be their favorite character because she is so intense in the movie. And that's what I say about kind of taking a big swing on your first movie. You know, you have a girl show up playing a banjo in the movie, you're just gonna go for it. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna go for it in the opening. And I do think, to your point, it pays off in a really fun way in the end, and hopefully you feel like we pulled it off. But I always feel like if you're gonna have a group of bad guys, like throw a girl with a banjo in and like just shoot for the moon, right? Like, what are you holding back for? There's no one there. It's not a studio executive there telling us what to go do. We might as well try and like, because no one's gonna. And as I have learned as a writer, and I worked at a studio, like, yes, once you're taking a little more money, someone's going to just tell you, no, we're not going to do that today.
You know, it's one of my favorite lines from a movie is from Cameron Crowe's Jerry Maguire, and it's a cameo by Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. He's working at the overnight Xerox shop, and Tom Cruise comes in to do his mission statement. And Jerry Cantrell looks at Tom Cruise's character and says, that's how you become great, man. You hang your balls out there. You hang your balls out there. I was like, well, that's exactly what this is. That's why not go for it? I mean, hang your balls out there. You might as well.
You might as well. You're not going to get, even with the costumes. Like we had a great costume designer named Hannah Bender, and so we met a bunch of costume designers who gave us like very grounded looks. You know, and she came in and her lookbook was wild. And so I was just like, go with the person who's an artist who has this crazy vision, because again, one of the lucky things I had is having, you know, gotten to see, you know, the other side, working for a producer, working for a studio, that there will be guardrails around you at some point. Well, there's no guardrails. Enjoy that and kind of define a little bit of a style for the movie. Even if it's not for everyone, you know, I see a lot of small movies where it's like kind of flat lighting, looks a little bit more generic, but playing it safe. I did feel like this, you want to go for it. And I think that when the actors and everyone see that you're going for it, they're more inclined to go for it too, because they get that, like, hey, let's go for the moon. And I even think, like, you know, the whole movie builds that really cool, the ending where you're like pushing it on Seann and he's like screaming, I'm a bad man. They're screaming, the guys are screaming at each other. Like, you know, you got to get the actors there to go do that. Like, they got to want to go do that, and they got to go for it. And I think if you don't create the environment, I mean, we're pumping the atmospheric smoke up to 1 million. We got the fire department called on us 3 times because that whole area was surrounded by these tubes of atmospheric smoke.
Yeah.
We had one lighting kit. And so it's not like we can pre-light anything. So a lot of times on movies, you're shooting a scene and then you're pre-lighting this other scene, but we just had this one kit. So it's like we had those night scenes, it's a vast space. So we have like this condor that's creating the moonlight, but we can only shoot one side. And then we had to move the whole thing around. So we're shooting this thing in chunks, and we're using this atmospheric smoke to cover for the fact that, like, we can't light the rest of the environment. Like, we don't have
Really? That's so cool though.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, like I'm saying, Garrett O'Brien, who's the DP, did this. I'm directing the actor shooting the movie, but we really pumped it up, and I love that ending because the guys go for it. I think Sean's fantastic in the scene, and Johnny really going for it, turning around, shoots dog in the head. Like, we went for it. And I think that let us even pull off the ending, because whenever we've screened the movie, and we've only got to see it really with a giant crowd twice. Once when we screened the Cyber Film Fest, it was like 500 people, and we did a premiere in LA. The ending does get a really big laugh when it's like, we did it, we fucking did it. It's like when they're, so you get it because you go to that emotional peak. And I do see a lot of movies where, you know, you never really get to that 10, that 11. And so this, we really tried to get there. And my thing was, can we get there in like 95 minutes? Because a lot of times you see movies where they get there, but it takes so long by the time people forget, like you get to the ending of a movie, it could be great, but if the audience is tired, you know, and they're just worn out by the movie, the movie's 120 minutes long, it might not have the same impact than if my thing was like on this, let's just try and deliver a movie that gets there really rapidly. And so that was the goal with, you know, making a move. And in editorial, I worked with 2 editors. The guy who came at the end, this guy named Taylor Levy, he also, he cut the movie Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. It's really fantastic.
Oh.
So just like find the right tone, because there wasn't really, it's not quite cut like a comedy, nor is it cut like a drama, and it does really need to move. And it's not, I don't think you go see, like you mentioned Task at the beginning of the conversation. Obviously, you don't go see a movie like this to expect the level of putting together the mystery of Task. No one's wondering who did it. Like, you know who did it. You saw him do it in the beginning. So it's like, you know, people forget, like when you make an action movie like this, people don't really care about the action. You know, I love Lethal Weapon's my favorite movies. I think there's like 3 plot points in Lethal Weapon and none of them actually make any sense. It's like the bad guys secretly kill this girl in the beginning of the movie, and then they just blow up another girl's house, and then they try and kill another guy with a machine gun from a helicopter. It's like, wait, didn't you secretly try and kill the first girl? Like, why are you have a helicopter and a machine gun? Like, they can see on the mask gun, but like no one sees Lethal Weapon for that. The plot of Lethal Weapon doesn't make any sense at all. But people see it for the characters, and I think that Johnny and Seann have that here, because you see this kid who really likes his town and he wants to do the right thing. And he comes upon this guy who's like, you can't do the right thing. You got to do the bad, almost a little bit like, you know, obviously the title is from the movie Shane, which is a gunner is as good or bad as the man using it. That's where we got the title from.
From the Western Shane.
The Western Shane, I was going to get it wrong,
Dude.
but like a gun is as good or bad as the man using it. And that's bad man.
So, but that's really nice you mentioned that, because when I was a little kid, my late father, he took me to the cinema in town. They were doing a special anniversary screening of it, and I got to see Shane on the big screen. I also got to see High Noon on the big screen. It was a double feature, Gary Cooper and High Noon and Shane. And so those two, nice. That's a nice connection to one of my favorite old Western movies of all time. That's so cool.
It's a great movie. It is like similar to like you meet this guy and the kid. Obviously, that kid is like 9 years old. Johnny is playing a kid who's older than that. But like has to deal with the fact that he's met this guy who does things the wrong way, and he has to understand how to do things. Now, obviously, the lesson in Shane is different from the lesson here. I think the lesson here is like this. You know, it's a little bit of a somber ending, and that the young guy in this movie, like Sam, he does need to kind of do things the wrong way. And to see, like, maybe it's to give him those things and take it away. And we were always walking that line. And I think, again, we got so much comedy from that, where, like, just trying to do things a little bit different. Like, he does kind of get the girl, but then the girl's like talking shit behind his back. And it's very, my thing was always like, let's leave it. Like, should we be laughing at him or feel bad for him? Like, let's just leave everything tonally a little, like, uncomfortable and see where we can get from that,
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, we've mentioned him a few times, and it's funny, you mentioned Lethal Weapon because of the characters. And I was like, I was going to mention Lethal Weapon later in this. It was actually one of the things I was going to talk about, because the chemistry between Johnny's character, Evans, and Agent Gaines by Seann William Scott, that's, to me, and I'm not throwing anybody else under the bus, I really don't mean it like this, but that was the heart of the film for me. The way those two characters from opposite ends of the law enforcement spectrum, so to speak, the way they came together and acted, it was reminiscent of the things I love best about those Lethal Weapon movies, Riggs and Murtaugh. I loved that, and it's it does have echoes of The Nice Guys with Shane Black and the way he puts people together. I wanted to ask you, Johnny, what was it like working with Seann William Scott? You had so many scenes with him. Can you explain what that was like?
Yeah, there's like scenes where he's coming up. There's one scene in particular where he comes up to me and says, "Look up," and then I look up. He punches the shit out of me, and I go down. I think it's like the 15th time I get punched in the face or something, or some sort of something hits me. Um, but I just remember, like, we're supposed to have this. We're supposed to be at odds with each other, and I felt like most of the time I was just cracking up. There was a scene in the back where I'm sitting in the front seat, they're in the back seat. We're taking a character to a hospital, and it's kind of an emotionally, it's one of these moments where the tone changes uh, dramatically. And Seann William Scott was playing it fully. He was completely in it. But then he flipped to comedy for a second, and I just was in the front seat. And I had to do this with my cowboy hat, which I did so many times. Anytime you see me dipping my hat down there, I'm probably cracking up underneath it. But yeah, like I think there's a lot of comedy in what I was doing, but it comes from the page. Like I look at it and I'm like, okay, it works. It feels, I don't know how to describe it other than what they can do, like what Riggle can do and Seann William Scott can do. They just can flip it on, and then it's like you're just cracking up. I'm just dipping my cowboy hat like half the time. But it was great. Yeah, Seann William Scott is incredible, and I grew up watching Road Trip, like you know, in all of his movies. So
Yeah, that's really wild. I still think one of my favorite episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is where you see this hat, Patty's Pub,
Oh
is
yeah,
when
he
he
did
when
trailer
he
shot.
plays Country Mac.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite episodes. I really felt that your character arc, Johnny, was what surprised me the most. And it's weird to talk about a character arc in kind of an action comedy, but there was a character arc for your character. You're kind of living in your father's shadow, and you're trying to be taken a little bit more seriously. You do have a genuine love for your community. Yeah, it sucks for an outsider to come in and tell you that there's all this garbage going on in your backyard. But I loved the levels. I loved the watching your character and the process that your character goes through, making those discoveries, learning some things about yourself, getting repeatedly hit in the face, and and then finally, cometh the hour, cometh the man. When the rubber meets the road and it's finally time to step up, you do in a big way, as Mike said. You take down the dog, which I don't know. I just really I thought your character had a really well written, and by you a very well executed character arc. And it's not a question. It's just pure praise. I really enjoyed your role.
thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, feel fortunate to be a part of it for sure. I mean, it really is nice to have that faith that, Mike had from the beginning. Even whenever I was like, really? Can I, like there's moments where I'm looking and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna, are you gonna buy that? Like I'm singing in front of everybody. I've never sang in front of everybody. You're gonna do this? He's like, just go with it. Like, half the time it was, he was just like, just go with it, just go with it. I'm like, okay. And it's nice to have somebody believe in you that way and push for you. And he got there before I did, and so it was to see it up on screen and watch it in front of with all of the audience of the incredible crew we had. We had some tough nights. It was very cold. It was 20 degrees or something like that. We were shooting all night, sometimes 16-hour days or whatever. This film for $750,000, what took us maybe 12 hours, 16 hours, would be a week-long, 2-week-long shoot. And what everybody was able to come together to accomplish is to see it up on screen and see that it landed, and it really there was a lot of it. It just is. I'm very proud of this movie, and I really am hope people check it out. It's great fun entertainment, and that's what we set out to make. And I really, I mean, I love all the films I've been a part of, and I feel very lucky, but I'm extraordinarily lucky to be part of it. And it's definitely worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, there's There's no exaggeration whatsoever in anything you said. It is a highly enjoyable film. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I did worry a little bit when I saw Seann William Scott and Rob Riggle show up. I'm like, okay, you know, put on the comedy lens, and then but when it
A
and that
lot.
was, yeah, it is a lot, and it asks a lot from you, but you found the perfect balance, and even your character, Johnny, compared to Seann William Scott's character, you're more of the straight person. He's more of the unhinged, wild comedy guy, and yet I thought that the film found a perfect balance, which is I don't think it's easy to do that. The films that do it, like The Nice Guys and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and some of these other buddy films, buddy cop films, when they get it right, because I don't even think the Rush Hour films, I think that it's too silly. I can't. Sorry, Brett Ratner. I mean, it's a great pairing, but I think it's too silly to be taken remotely serious or to even care about the peril that some of the main characters are in. I don't care. You've gone too far into comedy that I don't really. It doesn't. It kind of undermines the stakes of this of what you're trying to put these characters through. Now you want to be serious. You got to make up your mind here. So few films I think can do this, and I think that's down to Mike, your direction, your brilliant writing, and the performances.
The first Rush Hour is good. The first Rush Hour is really good.
That's true. The sequels feel forced.
Yeah.
You hadn't seen Chris Tucker doing
Yeah.
in so long, and shit. It's funny you mentioned Nice Guys. So I was hired and I wrote the female-driven version of the Nice Guys at Fox, and we didn't get it made partially because it's not a super conceptual movie. It's just a movie people like. So doing it like. And I think there was like another detective show that got picked up that year. It was like the TV version of Gone Baby Gone, like screwed us at Fox that year. But I got to meet Chan a few times, and I got to deal with Joel Silver a bunch in writing that, talking about like, well, what is the specific chemistry that made that work? And even like Rush Hour, like I was supposed to write whatever the fourth version of Rush Hour was, whatever one they're up to. I dealt with Brett a lot on that, and even him talking about going back to the first one, and just him talking. He was a really intelligent guy about how to create like a level of reality, because he was like, the advice he gave me was, he's like, put a comedian in it, then make sure everyone else is a straight actor. Because once you go, if you put too many just comedians in it, you're gonna ruin that. And everyone has their own little mixture, right? Joel
Sure.
has a mixture, Brett had his about how to do it. And obviously, I think what happened with the rest of Rush Hour is little kids caught onto the movie. So young kids liked Rush Hour. And then the second one is made for children, because Brett was like, there's a huge audience for children to see this movie. And Jackie Chan is like a guy who everyone wants to hug. And I think it moved that way naturally. And it made so much money that they were like, we're going to keep doing this. For me, looking for this exact combination was putting these guys together, and we're having Sean play it straight. But one thing that definitely, like, I thought that Shane Black does, and you know, definitely talking to Joel about his thing was, you know, a lot of times you see comedies and they kind of get the comedy by casting someone who's like the nerd as the other guy. It's like, so there's definitely a version of this movie where it's like the cop in town is just like, he's slapstick. But I think what's so great about what Nice Guys does, or Lethal Weapon, is it's two movie stars, two guys who look like movie stars who are getting, like, pushing it. So it's not like Danny Glover is played by a guy who's a comedian who's got to deal with this reckless guy. No, he's a leading man as well. I mean, Danny Glover was the bigger movie star at the time, right? And so this, it's like, it's two guys who look like movie stars who are leading men going at each other. And that's why, to me, it's more intense, because if you had someone who wasn't on the same level as Sean going at him, it's like, you get what this is. This is these two guys facing off. And part of it was telling Sean, like, hey, dial it back. And then I actually think a lot of that initial comedy in Act One comes from Johnny, like, reacting to not knowing how serious this guy is.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is he doing? And then he goes up the rails later, you know.
But then also trying to adapt to him.
Yeah.
Like, trying to be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, what is
Oh,
this guy
well, yeah,
doing?
that makes sense. You know, like,
How do you keep up? And I think that's the thing. Like, when you make a movie for this little money, you know, it's not like you have the budget to do. It's not a horror movie, so it's not like you can push it to crazy scares. It's not like you have the budget to blow up more things. So the only thing you have to play with to differentiate yourself from the marketplace is tone. That's it. Like, we all know how to make a straight comedy, but like, and we could do that. You could color in the lines, but all we had to play with is tone. So we're like, let's make this thing as tonally original. So like when people like yourself see it and you like it for the tone, because it's different than everything else at the budget range. I think that's, you know, because again, you got to see what do you have and what is the advantage that's working for you. And from that casting perspective, yeah, getting to put those guys in it and having Seann not have someone breathing down your neck and being like, well, let's get more comedy from Seann up front. Like, he shows up and he's just in the opening scene of the station, he's just completely straight-laced, and all your comedy is coming from the team around him.
Yeah.
All the guys around him, you know, obviously Riggle's hysterical. Andre Hyland, who plays Gary, is hysterical. And Chance Perdomo, it was the first time he had done like a straight comedy, and he's obviously so amazing in the film. Just really acquitted himself in, you know, in every possible way.
Yeah, I was just to say, I don't know if you saw the look on my face. I became horrified as I realized you actually knew Brett Ratner, and you've actually.
Well, I mean, it's like we go for beer every Tuesday. I wrote he at the. I want to say there was something else I wrote on that he was directing, because I've written on so much stuff for so long that like and I forget what the I know that when they were figuring out the whatever the fourth Rush Hour, I bet with them a bunch about that. But I think that, again, looking at I love all action comedies, and I love the way different guys do it and how they achieve those tones, because everyone has their own thing. You know what I mean? Like, his movies are more effervescent, I would say. Like, they're just trying to be fun. You're having a blast. And Shane's movies have a level of darkness. And again, I dealt with that guy once in the amazing writer. Didn't get to deal with him a whole bunch in the process, though I'd met him and I'd found him to be a very, I got to meet him at the beginning of my career. I had an agent and I forget what I'd sold something, and they were definitely like trying to like retain me as a client. And they're like, what do you want? And I'm like, I really want to meet Shane Black. And I must have been 27 at the time. And I'm like, could you do that? Could you guys figure that out? And they're like, yeah, go to this cafe. He's just going to be there. And he just showed up, and he's like, but he had no idea. Like, I think he was also like, why am I meeting you? You know what I mean? But he was once I told him I was such a big fan, he was very generous, and he was really smart in just, you know, he's obviously like a writer's writer, in telling you like, hey, this is how things work. And because I've been an assistant for so long, one thing you learn is, I do think, just being in rooms and getting to hear different filmmakers talk about their process. I think a lot of filmmakers never get to hear other filmmakers talk about their process. They're only on their own movies. As an assistant, like, for 3 years, again, I worked for the president of a studio for 3 years for a producer, and then 3 years for the president of a studio. You're hearing all these other filmmakers talk about how they do things. And a lot of times those filmmakers, they only hear themselves talk. So I got to hear how so many, and everyone approaches it a different way. And then you just have to decide, of all those things you've heard, what makes the most sense, and what, you know, how you're going to put that all together and create your own tone. And my hope is that, that you see the movie and we were able to, you know, Johnny and I create a unique tone where you're like, oh, this is a thing, you know, it's like this, it's like this. Obviously you paint with many colors, but hopefully it feels like, oh, you've created your own thing. Like, obviously we have, I mean, I have nut shots, and I think 2 different people get kicked in the nuts. I mean, obviously that's broader than Shane Black might go with his movies. So it's like, I have a little bit different tone, but I also feel like what we did was, and I feel like we were able to pull it off, the way Garrett, our DP, shot it. Like, when Seann kicks the guy in the nuts, we're not shooting it like a high key comedy. It's shot like in a gritty way. So you're almost like, you can't tell how seriously to take it. And I felt like we could do something unique there. And we can pull that off and not let it go too broad. And I had a cut point to get out of the scene without including that. So I was always like, as an editor, let me find a way out of the scene, because it's such a ridiculous scene. I mean, the scene is over the top and insane, but and it's so broad, but it doesn't play that broad when you watch it. Like, people don't like say we went too far. So I was happy with that. And yeah, that, you know, that we never kind of went into goofiness. Because like you're saying, like, comedy guys show up and, you know, I mean, we do have an insane, the whole Ronald Reagan speech, I think, goes pretty like, and Riggle's so funny. We're just like, keep it all in there because he's so great.
Well, like, the highlight of the movie for me, and I have to ask you about this, Mike. The highlight is where Seann William Scott is trying to get a prisoner or a witness to spill the beans. And he literally goes over and he takes, what is it, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights,
It's
and he's
right.
beating the man over the head with the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, the very thing that's supposed to protect him from police brutality.
He shatters it and wipes his butt with it. And that was the
Yeah.
whole thing where I thought that what was funny dramatically about the movie was, so the real guy in the story, he did say he was with a multi-jurisdictional narcotics task force, and that was a line from Beverly Hills Cop 2. So he used a line from a movie, the real guy. And what I thought was funny is, in terms of like actually the seriousness of the movie, was like, how can we make a movie where this guy shows up and he's doing cop things? So some people even like, you know, in looking at the movie are like, in the beginning, you think like, well, Seann seems like a stereotypical movie cop. And that's the point. He's playing a movie cop and these people in the town are soaking it up. They're like, we love this. You know, you have the opening where they have like a picture of all the presidents going in, and they have like a George Bush picture, and they, you know, Johnny's saluting it. And the whole thing is like, this is the hero they expected. And they're loving it. They're talking about Ronald Reagan. And Johnny's the only one.
Just a quick little nod.
Yeah. Johnny's like, is this guy real? Like, should he be? And
Is this how we're supposed to be doing it?
Yeah, like, and I hope the movie does have that commentary on it where it's like, the guy who shows up who's insane is not the guy you should want. Like, everything he's doing, you're supposed to be saying, this guy's insane, that we're laughing at it. But Johnny's the one person who's like, no, this is not how it's done. I'm going to do things correctly. But yes, he does that. And I think what hopefully made that scene work for you is the actor we put in it, Kai Castor. He's from the Yellowstone universe. He was Rowdy in Yellowstone. So he's not like just a straight comedy guy. He's hysterical in the movie. I don't know that he'd done comedy before, but my thing was put a real actor in that part, like a guy who like works in the Taylor Sheridan universe, who is he's going to, and he pulled it off because he's playing the reality of the scene, and the reality of the scene is hysterical. And he, you know, I did think Kai made that all work, and Johnny's reaction to it and everything. So my goal there was, how do we take a joke that seems like it's from the broadest movie of all time, where he wipes his butt with the Bill of Rights, and we go for it. I mean, and try to make it serious where you don't know where you are. And Johnny definitely reacting to that in the background is funny. And then going from that, the very next scene is Johnny crying over his dad and the passion of his dad. And so you're kind of, you know, in this, where does the tone land? And hopefully that speaks to, you know, it having some sort of an emotional weight to it, and us saying, I do think Johnny's character does resoundingly say in the end, like, that's not the way I'm literally going to do the right thing. I'm going to arrest you. I'm going to do this. And even to the end of the movie, he gives Sean's character like a little bit of grace in the end when the guy's like, we did it. We fucking did it. And Johnny like just gives him the pound. It's like the character being a good guy and saying like, I'm just going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the win.
Well, I mean, when you talk about it like that, and how what you've done is you've used Johnny's character as kind of the moral compass of this film. And because he's this moral compass, as an audience member, I'm gravitated towards him. I'm like looking at his character going, yeah, that doesn't look like normal police work at all. And I can see it on his face. I can see it in your performance, Johnny. And when it comes full circle and the dust settles and our film ends, it has a very Old West type ending to it, like a little bit like High Noon. You know, there's only one good guy that's going to take care of things, like Shane, as it were. I mean, there is you can see the influence of Old West films on this, and I don't know if that was consciously. I mean, you got the title from an Old West film, Shane, but I don't know if that was subconsciously.
That's
you grew up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But also that's
okay.
the casting. I think, like, obviously I've mentioned a lot of actors that are similar to Johnny, but I do think that what he brings that's unique is he does have this throwback vibe to an era of guys who could have been in Westerns. Like that, like Kevin Costner swagger vibe that I do think there's not a lot of actors that have that. So I do, if you put an actor in this who looked like he couldn't be in those movies, you're not going to pull it off. It's going to seem like something else, or it's going to seem like you're aping it, or like, oh, it's a revisionist Western. Like, I do think like Johnny could have been in Open Range. Like he can pull that off. And I don't think that's the thing that makes him so unique, because he can do the comedy and do that. And so he's his, you know, like I mentioned, a bunch of actors that I think have a bunch of different tones, but what makes him unique is he has that vibe to it. And I knew that if I put, you know, he has an iconic look, you know, this iconic, and I knew that if I put him in the costume and the whole thing, it was going to work. And I just felt that. And again, I've always believed in him as an actor and his ability to do that. And I knew he would bring it. And obviously, what you see in your head is different than what the actor brings. Like, you write it and then you give it to them, and then they, at least my thing as a director, like, they own that. That's they're creating the tone. Like, it's not like I can take this and just, put magic dust on it and editing or this or that. Like, the actor creates the tone as they want. And they take control of the movie. It's their thing, or you hand it off. And so you want to have someone that you feel like, oh, we're in sync. We have the same tone, the same vibe, and we're wearing the same color t-shirt. Clearly, like, we think alike. So you want someone who feel like they're in the wave, because that's it. You're going to hand it off. And, like, to a certain extent, like, yes, actors will take notes and they'll do their thing. But, like, there's like a Robert Downey Jr. quote. He's like, listen to the director, nod, and then do whatever the fuck you were going to do to begin with. And I think every actor does that. I think the truth is, like, that's how there's very few actors who are gonna. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, Johnny, but do actors take notes, or is it like you're handing it off? Am I wrong?
I mean, I try to. I really try to get it. I try to, but then by the time I'm doing it, I'm like back in this scene, 100% focused on whoever's across from me. So it's like half the time, even on Last Shot, the thing I did with Todd Last and Warner, I remember there was a scene I was working with the director Andy, and then I finished the take, and I had I was like, oh, okay, sweet. And then I remembered I completely forgot the direction I had gotten. So I was like, I'm definitely like my attention. If I do that, it definitely is unintentional. I certainly want to incorporate it in.
You're in the scene. Like, I wrestled in high school and college, and when you wrestle, you go out there and yes, your coach is there, and the coach is yelling at you what to do, and you're trying to listen, but you're literally wrestling. There's nothing you're not in here. I'm doing the thing. Prepare me beforehand. You want to be well prepared, and let me go out and let me do the thing, because you have no idea what I'm dealing with between being tired or what I think. And so, I look at it like that, which is, be as prepared as possible, go in. But once you're up, you can listen, but there's only so much you're going to hear in the midst of doing everything. And you want to steer it in a certain way. And that's why, like, a lot of directors that I've been lucky enough to be around, who you would think would give this crazy level of direction, it's like, well, I forget, there's another director. I feel like he was like, I want to say it's like David Mamet or something. He's like, the only note I've ever given an actor is to talk quicker. Like, that's kind of, he's like, that's the only thing you can say. It's like, at a certain, once you're there, you've written the script, you've given it to them. We did some rehearsals. We were able to, like, hone in on it. And then, yeah, you go. I mean, there's a million other things you're doing. So you got to trust, especially your lead actor. Obviously, someone comes in for the day, they're catching up on it. You're moving them around, but, like, the guy who's going through it. So
this especially reminds me of, like, live theater. The director at some point has to say,
that's it.
Yeah, we've had our dress rehearsal, our tech rehearsal. Now we're in front of a live audience, and I don't have the benefit of saying, cut, let's run the scene again, guys. And if you have a limited budget on a film, that very much can be the case as well. It's like, we have special effects, we have pyrotechnics. You got to nail it in this take. And at some point, as a director, I imagine you just step back and say, I hope it's magic. I hope it just comes together. And
because it's so easily can't,
yeah.
It's very that's why that moment where I looked over and I saw you dancing behind the monitor, where you were jumping up and down, like, kind of, I was like, okay, sweet. Because it really is that tightrope moment with no net. Because once you're in, if you've got no budget to potentially hold off another week and find somebody else, it's like Mike was trusting me to find that, and I don't know if it shows up or not. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like that's part of the preparation, but hopefully it just lands. And I felt like when I saw it with the audience, when I saw that first day on the set, whenever we were in the middle of it, I don't know. It just all felt like it was clicking. So it's really nice whenever that happens.
Is that
not quick? Yeah, I've worked on movies, like, as you're just coming up in different ways where you see it's not working, and the level of dejectedness. Like, when I was an assistant, I worked on a movie we made at Advantage that was eventually nominated for Academy Awards and stuff. But for the first 2 weeks, there was an actor on set who wasn't good, amazing director. and they replaced the actor, the director was like, there's nothing I can do. I've cast the wrong actor. I'm not gonna, there's no direction. And the level of dejectedness is you're so low, everyone's so depressed, and you can tell when it's not working. And like if it doesn't work, there's not a whole lot you can do to reset it. And so for me, just with this, I wanted to make sure from a casting perspective, like again, I had someone who I just knew was gonna come up, gonna show up, knock it out of the park, and I felt really good with Johnny doing that, and then populating, giving him actors. The thing that I hope made it stay fresh was I gave him a lot of actors to play off of, so he's got a lot of co-stars in the movie because there's scenes with him and Seann, scenes with him and Lovey, with him and Rob, with him and Andre. Him and Chance obviously are amazing together. So it was like putting him in there and giving him so many different people to play off of, so it never felt like anything was getting stale. Was really important.
I wanted to kind of close this podcast. I was waiting for it. I wanted to close and of course, if you guys have anything else you want to say, it's like a feast. I am sitting here and I am listening to a feast from both of you guys. I could listen to you guys for hours. I know you don't have that kind of time, but I could listen to you for hours.
I got kids, man. I got kids.
Okay.
By the way, I just want to say that's the environment you bring, Joseph, and I really appreciate that. Listen to some of your other podcasts and your passion for film and, your emphasis on finding things you love about them. That I believe you said something along the lines of, it's just so easy to cut things down. And, you find something in even the Mark Wahlberg film that you didn't love. It's like, okay, well, whatever, you put it to the side. And I really appreciate that because there is something so easy these days about cutting people, especially artists, down, like a film, like whatever they put up, or maybe you don't like this song, and it just is so easy to just say, it's not. And it's nice to have that environment. So I really wanted to say I appreciate that, and it's great that I really appreciate that you responded to it and checked it out and had us here, and yeah.
Wow. Johnny, that's very high praise, and thank you for listening to my earlier work. I appreciate that. To reiterate what I was saying, I think the world is a very negative place. I think there's a lot of negativity out there, but I think it takes big balls to create, to write, to direct, to perform. It takes very big balls to do that because you're putting yourself out there. Whether people love it, hate it, it's still an act of courage to perform. And to be an artist. And so to you, Mike, and to you, Johnny, thank you for doing something you love. The passion for what you both are involved in, it is infectious. I can see it in your work. I can see it in the film. I can see it in the performance. I don't want to turn this into a Hallmark greeting card, but it comes from a genuine good place. And I love to see it, man. I just love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A very difficult labor of love to make the movie.
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day. Sometimes the great, the big things, the big things that are worth it. I've even heard that some of the hardest films to make that might have even been miserable while making them surprisingly turn out well, from Blade Runner and on. So it's just a mystery how it all can come together, What I want to do really quick before we close this up, guys, is I wanted to save this bit for the last. Listeners may not know this, but if my research is correct, this is the last film of Chance Perdomo, who passed away last year, very young in a tragic accident. You might remember Chance from Gen V, which was a spinoff of Amazon's The Boys, which I really enjoyed. This, I believe, is Chance's last major film, and I wanted to open it up to either one of you to share maybe some of your experiences working with Chance, what it was like. I felt he gave a genuine, heartfelt, great performance. It came from a great place. But if you could share maybe what your experiences were working with Chance.
He's an amazing actor, amazing guy. He's a guy who definitely he lived life. He didn't just show up to set. He showed up in a shearling coat, smoking a cigar with a boombox, having a blast. Like he's the guy who really lived life. He was immensely talented. Absolutely. The sky was the limit for him. And it's just, a baffling tragedy. It's hard to put into words when anyone passes away, when any young person passes away who's only 27, and then when someone that young, that talented, it's hard to get your head around it. It's hard to make anything of it. The only thing you hope is, artists live on in their work, and he will, hopefully we did him justice in some way, and and I know his mom does really like the film, and I hope that's some comfort.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still hard to wrap my mind around. I'm just like, doesn't make any sense. But um, I just had the best time working with him. I mean, there's scenes. He's still very much alive in my mind and very. I don't know. It's just a bummer. Like, but I had the best time working with him. He's hilarious. We got to improv and play around whenever we had this huge rig set up on this station wagon, and you definitely see out of it. I was like looking around, and both of us just I don't know that day was I just had the best time, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss him.
It's a bummer because he would have gotten a kick out of the movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it's I say it like no one would have been more excited for the movie and what the movie was and like all of it than him. And it's a tragedy. And he is again, but he is someone who really he lived life. Like he definitely was a guy who went at it and was like he was always at a 10, and he was just always in he was a larger than life personality, more so than almost anyone I've met. So it's yeah, again, it's hard to quantify.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. I really appreciate that. I was a fan of his work. Everything I hadn't seen a lot of him in things, but the things I had seen, I really enjoyed. And when I saw that he was in the cast, and I had already known, of course, what had transpired, I was like, oh, that's tough. But he did so well. He was just great. And your scenes with him, Johnny, were always very good. I could tell you guys had a great chemistry in your scenes together. Well, listen, to you guys, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for your perspectives on making this film. I can't wait to see the two of you get back together again and make something else. I really enjoyed this, and I think your song in the film, "A Country Boy Can't Survive," I think that's the heart of the film. I think that is it says so much. It's so self-referential, I think, to your character because you do survive. You survive. Your character survives living under the shadow of your father as a lawman, and you survive in this tiny town. You don't go to the big city to seek your fortune. You stay in the town and try and be an agent of change. Even though another agent comes from out of town and tries to change you, you stay true to your roots. And I think that was the moral of the story was "A Country Boy Can't Survive." So a perfect song for such an appropriate film. But do either of you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I appreciate that you like the song so much. We were unable to find this on a movie this budget. I think, especially when you have like someone like Seann in the movie, I think people assume your budget's bigger and you're lying to them. So we were trying to get a song, but everyone wanted like an insane amount of money for the song. And we were able to negotiate with the people at Country Boy Can't Survive, but I gave Johnny that song like 15 minutes before we had to shoot it.
Really?
Yeah, but maybe, maybe.
But I think it works for that performance.
But like he had to learn that on the fly and just went at it. And I have a lot of Johnny, a lot of outtakes of Johnny singing "Country Boy Can't Survive." We had a music video out of it probably. So
Shit.
That'll be on the DVD feature. Is that what you're saying, Mike?
Well, I've told him he's actually a very, very good, like 100%. And I'm like, I'm taking a commission of your country music. Because I do feel like every actor wants to sing. I genuinely think he can make a go of it. Country music's coming back. I just want to taste, Just want a piece.
In Last Shot, I'm gonna sing. I actually play a song and do a song. I'm trying to remember which one we ended up using. There's a couple of different ones, but there is a country song coming with
That's so
Todd
cool.
and Warner. By the way, they produced that as well. So
Oh wow.
The movie that they just did.
Yeah,
Wow.
last
Yeah.
shot.
So you do play a country singer
Yeah.
in your other
Yeah.
film. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, you must have
Coming
just
down the pipeline.
coming down the pipe. Well, when that happens, I would love for you to come back. I'd love to explore that with you and the director and anyone else with that as well.
That'd be
Um,
awesome.
that'd be great. Listen, Mike and Johnny, thank you so much for your time today. You guys have been fantastic guests. To my listeners out there, Bad Men, starring Seann William Scott, my guest, Johnny Simmons, directed by Mike Diliberti, co-starring Rob Riggle, Lovey Poe, the late Chance Perdomo, Ethan Suplee. You guys need to see this film. It is very funny, but it's handled so well. It's streaming right now on Amazon. I highly, highly recommend it. If you want to, you can check out my review. I do have a Letterboxd review of it. If you follow me on Instagram, I have also posted my review on Instagram. I think you're going to enjoy yourself. For everyone out there, I hope you stay safe. I always like to close my podcasts with something about your mental health, mostly because I think we're all struggling. And if for anybody out there who's hearing this, it's having a hard time accepting who they are and moving forward, you matter, you're important, and I hope that you are actively trying to surround yourself with people who see you for who you are in a very positive way. And I hope you do that for yourself. It's something you need to be actively doing anyway. Anyway, without further ado, I'll let you guys have your week back. I'll see you next week on the Fixate and Binge podcast, where I have some more exciting guests who debuted their film at South by Southwest earlier this year. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.